Just a moment. You can see, ma'am?
No, yeah, now it is there.
Okay.
So I hope everyone can see. So good evening to everyone. So first of all, yeah, just the first slide, I think, to begin. Yeah, thank you. So first of all, I would like to express my thankfulness and gratefulness for being part of this program and sharing with you a little piece of the French flora and the observation I could make on this area. So it's not going to be the whole French flora. France is a huge country. So, but it's going to be the northern part of the country. Please, next slide. So in France, actually, you have, yeah, thanks. You have a lot of diversity of landscape. As you can see on those two maps, you have a part which is the western part, northern and western part. There will be more meadows with a lot of grass and trees, but not that many forests. And then we will have mountains area. So the Alps, for example, are on the really right border, southern border. So it's on the eastern southern part of the country. So it has a completely typical form of landscape. On the second map on the right, you can see actually the forest rate. So it's a bit old because it's from 2014. But you can assess easily that where the mountains are going to be, the rate of the forest is more than 45%. That doesn't mean that we don't have forest everywhere. Actually, France is a very, very green country. Please, next slide. Yeah. So as a result, we have also a diversity of climates, of course, because we have a huge border with the ocean. All the west part of France, you can see actually from the north to the south at the border with Spain is going to be bordered with the ocean. So we have, as a result, we have, are you going a bit too fast? Previous one, yeah, that's it, thank you. So as a result, you will have different climates, and the main climates we're going to look at today actually is the oceanic one, which is in the border in the northern part of the country, northern western part. And all that border actually from the north to the south will have that climate. So it will have a huge influence from the oceanic ocean and from all the currents actually coming from this ocean. And as a result, you will have a biodiversity that will grow according to that. And you can assess actually that this is very different if you go near to the Mediterranean Sea. Here you have Mediterranean climate, and mainly that will be more looking like Bangladesh with all the features. And then again, it will become different in that map on the right with the brown areas, which are the mountains. Next slide, please. So I'm going to show you today actually the low Normandy part, which is, as I said, in the northwestern part of the country. So you could see I just put it with that round on the left side. So the first thing I want to mention is the coastal area. For the whole Normandy, you have 850 kilometers for the whole district just of coastal area, which is a lot. in fact. And this part of the country is a little bit protected because you have UK just above, and then you have a small peak on the western part, which is called the Cotentin, which is protecting also all the area of Normandy. So the part of the lower Normandy I want to show in this observation is really the eastern part, actually. So you can assess on that small map of the district the underground springs and water. So there is a very high density of water, underground water. We have a lot of springs and a lot of rivers, big and small. You have the Seine River actually in the complete eastern part of that district, which is coming to the sea. And on the other part, you have a lot of springs and rivers. Please, next slide. The climatic conditions and the rainfall are very important in that area. So this is to show you the average temperature, because we are trying to look at it in an Ayurvedic way. So we have to take that into account as well. So the number of cold days in the last 10 years, we have 30 to 45 days of cold, which means average 20 degrees, which is quite cold. So out of a year, this is almost nothing. And the average of temperature here is 10 degrees, 15 degrees. Somehow it's not going that much below. So the cold is not that much there compared to the rest of the country. Now the number of days of rainfall. You have almost half of the year, and you can see on the darker spots actually that it's almost half of the year. So it's a marshy land. It's a very much marshy land. Please, next slide. Next one. Yeah. No, just previous, please. Thank you. So according to classics, actually, and according to those features, if we look in Sushruta Samhita, we can find out, I pictured in small at the bottom, the soil we have here around. So the bhumi is ruksha on the coastal area, and this is due to a lot of vayu actually coming from the ocean. But when you go a little bit inside the land where I'm staying, then it becomes ati snigdha, very, very much snigdha. And these days, actually, we had 15 days water continuously, rain continuously, and it's even slippery, I would say. It's very, very moist and very unctuous. So Shita Pradhan, I would say it's more cold than India, for example, but it's not that much cold as well. But one thing is sure, it's a Jala Pradhan dish. That is very clear. And most of the trees here will have white or whitish flowers coming from the apple trees, from the pear trees, or the other trees I'm going to show. They have a lot of white flowers. They have very dark barks. And the color of the soil depends actually where you are. The thing is, mainly it's clay. And on the underground, when you go on the little bit hilly areas, then you will find this lime under it. So it's lime with clay. And the clay actually is not stira. So it becomes stira when it's not raining that much. And it's very heavy with very big trees, because we have oaks here and other big trees. So I think it's a Partiv Jal Pradhan Bhumi. Vayu is there, but it's not predominant, especially inside actually the land. So you can see the differences actually in the district on the left side. from a map, and you can access. So I'm staying on the eastern part, and this is a humid actually part. It's called Pays d'Auge, and it's between very, very wet and just wet actually, because we are in between two rivers. That is the reason why. So we have a lot of swamp area as well. Next slide, please. So these are the different landscapes actually you can find around here. So first you have the meadow. The meadow is predominant in Low Normandy. You can access that on the lower photograph, but it's not just a meadow, it's meadow with edges. We have wild hedges and we have lots of biodiversity in those hedges, like we'll see after. So we have swamps area, as you can access also on the right side, on the upper picture. We have forest as well, and we have cliffs. The one you can access is on the beach, actually. It's a very famous cliff. It's totally in clay. It's protected because it's very, very old. It's a very old area. You can find a lot of, how you call that in English? Fossil from the previous actually eras. And also because it's not stira actually, it's falling apart due to the sea and the wind. So next slide, please. The first plant I would like to mention from the observation is the wild rose. I think most of the European people will know this one. So you can see the flower on the picture on the left side. It's a plant which is mentioned in very old texts. So Pliny the Old is a Latin author, and he actually mentioned that plant, especially the root, was supposed to cure the rabies. So if you see the name in Latin, which is Rosa canina, canina is mentioning the dog in Latin. So this is the reason why. This is the story of the plant. So whether it's curing the rabies or not, this is not told, but this is found in that very old textbook. So it's the family of Rosaceae. It's a small tree. It's not very big. What we have here is 2-3 meters high, not more than that. The leaves are compound with foliole, and they are elliptical, and they have small teeth that you cannot see that much in the picture, I think. So we have different parts we are using. First is the flowers, very delicate flowers, and the fruits. So the fruits you can see there, it's very famous. I'm not sure there is an equivalent actually in English. Traditionally, we harvest those fruits nowadays. So that picture on the right side is taken yesterday actually from the wild area. So after the frost, we collect the fruits, and either we eat it as it is, or we make jam out of it. It's so I try to recollect with the ancient uses and some assessment as well, the rasa panchak of this plant. So the flowers will be mainly madur, and with the vipak madur most probably. The guna will be snigdha, and the karma will be bruhan. Actually, anuloman, most probably it's vat pittagna, and the indication are fokshaya actually, and ashmarigna also. This is what is mentioned in the very old textbooks. So nowadays, what the people have a tendency to do is just to pick up the fruits and eat it. In the northern European country, they make a soup out of it in the winter, and it's really jivanya. So the fruit will be different actually. They are very kashai amla, and they have in the middle lots of seeds that we have to remove, because if you don't remove them, it's going to be itching. with the seeds, you can make oil also. So the fruits. So the rasa is most probably kashaya amla, as per my taste. The vipak is amla. The guna is lagu, grahi. The karma, grahi, jivanya, vat, pitta, gna, most probably. And the indication is really atisar, krumikna. And the virya is most probably ushna, but not very much ushna. This is not shita, as per my observations. Next slide. This is a common small tree, I would say, from the wild edges. I was talking about the wild edges in between the meadows just before. So this is one of the tree you can find. It's called hawthorn in English. Not sure everyone will know this. So it's a Crataegus livigata. It's from the Rosaceae family as well. So it's very common here. Every now and then you can find it. You just go outside, it is there. So I cannot show you nowadays because we have deciduous trees, so you won't see any leaves or anything, and we are in winter. So it's a small tree with spine. It's common from the hedges, as I said. The leaves are simple with lobels, and they are dentate. I think there is a picture on the next slide of this. The flowers are white. It's a very light white. Sometimes they are pinkish, but it's not very often. And they are in form of corymb. And the fruits are red grapes. And they are very, very astringent fruits. So the flowers, most probably, and as per what I found, they are madur, maybe a little bit amla. The guna are sharp, so tikshna and lagu. And the karma is rudya. Actually, this plant is specific for the heart. It's very famous here for the heart. We have a very long tradition of fant here in France. So, and this plant is really regulating actually the heart rate. It's famous for that. So most probably it is Vata Kaphagna. It's Pittakar. It's also Nidrakar. And the Virya is Ushna. The indication are also for Shweta Pradar and Vatarakta. For the flowers only. Next slide, please. So the fruits, you can see the fruits here. So the flowers we have around April, May, and the fruits we will have in September, roundabout. It depends from one year to another. So the fruits are very kashaya, they are guru. And they are anushna ashita, I found. So the karma will be for swar, Vat Pittagna, it's Bruhan and it's Grahi as well. It's good for Swar Beda, we use it for that. And we prepare it as a fant as well. Or we can make some, we can cook it with the apples. It's another possibility. Or we can eat it also as well. You have a small kernel inside. It helps in Atisar, it's a Bruhan. And it can help also in Grahani. Next slide. The next one is very famous. Again, most of the European people will know this one. It's a black elder. It's very, very common in all Europe. It's from the hedge also, so outside again you can find it everywhere, especially in Normandy. We have a lot of use of these flowers actually. So it's a shrub, it's Sambucus nigra, Adoxaceae family. The shrub is growing in cool and moist environment. It can reach 6 meters high, and the branches in the trunk becomes really like the trees. This is one of the main characteristics, because we have another variety which is very similar, and this is a way to differentiate both of them. The second one is a shrub. So the bark is grayish, it's cracked with large compound leaves. So you have 5 or 7 oval leaflets, and they are opposite in phyllotaxy, as you can see on that upper picture. They are lanceolated and serrated with small dented. I'm not sure it can be seen on those pictures. So the inflorescence is in corymbos, and the flowers are very, very fragrant. Actually, you can smell from 1 or 2 meters distance very easily, even when it rains still. The flowers are white, as you can see, a little bit yellowish. And it has fruits, which are blackberries, and they are full of dark juice when they are ripened. So we use the flowers, the fruits, the leaves, and the bark. The bark was used in the old days. It's no more used nowadays, even in the countryside. You can find a description of the flowers actually from Egypt also. It's the Svedakar. So the rasa panchak from the flowers, madur, the vipak is madur, the guna are tikshna, lagu, most probably. The karmas, vivanupak, it's a dwaragna, mutrala, and anulom. So the fruits, the rasa is madur, amla. The vipak is madur. The fruits actually are less used than the flowers. The flowers are really used in case of jwara, actually. We prepare a font out of it. We dry the flowers and we just prepare that font. We can cook them as well. We fry them. We make syrup out of it in the spring. In France, we have that specificity that you don't go and get the plants from outside. If you want to have the plants from the wild, you have to go and collect it yourself. So everyone is almost doing that in the countryside and having that at home. So the berries are more used actually as a syrup, but they are virechak actually. They are snigdha lagu. They have very much colored inside, and birds are eating them very quickly. So the main indication from the berries is virechan, but some more study should be there actually to assess exactly what is the action. So I tried, but I didn't find that it was that much purgative. The bark of the tree is also known as a purgative, the sar inside the bark. So the leaves are also used. They are also Svedanopak, Virechak, and they can be used actually for Arsha and Daha, but externally. So they are Madur, and they have a Madur Vipak as well. The guna is Snigdha, and the Virya most probably is Shita. They also help in the case of, we have some Ortica dioica, which is provoking slight irritation on the skin actually when you touch it. And those leaves are very helpful to relieve this itching and little pain from the Ortia dioica we are getting. Next slide, please. The next one is also very common. So most probably it is there in Europe. I'm not 100% sure. For sure it is there everywhere in France. Yeah, thank you. It's the burdock. So you can assess, actually, this is a plant that you can find almost everywhere in the border of the roads. It's a little bit like in Kerala. When you go outside, you can find all the plants almost. Here it's the same, but the plants will be different. So it's Aticum lapa. It's an Asteraceae. So it's a huge biennial herbaceous plant. And it can grow 1.5 meters high, even sometimes more, I saw here in the countryside. There is a long tap root of this plant, and the leaves at the beginning, because on this one you can see it's too big, it's heart shape, especially when they grow small. They are alternates, they are very green and hairy, and they are grayish, actually, grayish whitish below, and they are very green on the bottom. So the flowers are corymb, and they have large head with hook. Next slide, please.
Ma'am,
yeah,
can you please make it a little fast? We are exceeding our time.
Yeah, definitely.
Please.
So here you can see, actually, okay. So the next one is the horsetail. It's Equisem avis. It's a small plant, actually, used mainly for asti, I would say. This is how we use it, and it's a diuretic. It's a Vrana also. You can use it for Arsha. It's a very kashaya, actually, plant, and it's a Raktastamban, very interesting, and it grows on the marshy lands as well. Next one. This one is also very common. It's a ground Eevee. So we have Eevee that is growing on the trees, and this one is growing on the ground. So this one is very specific. It grows in winter also, and it's very ruksha plant, Katuan ruksha. It has a taste which is a little bit similar with tulsi, I found, but it's more ruksha. And this is very helpful, actually, for kas, schwas, tamak schwas, and Vrana also, and it's a very good rasayan. The flowers are violet. You cannot see them because it's not the season. Next one. This is another very common flower. It's Aschel's herb. So it's an herb you can find everywhere. You can see the leaves here, which are dentate, and the flowers are very white. So we use both flowers and leaves. So it's a Raktastamban, actually, plant, and it's tikta kashaya, actually, in taste. So Raktastamban will be more used from the leaves, and the flowers will be more used as a bitter tonic. And we can collect the flowers in summer, in mid-June, roundabouts. Next slide. This is a commentary from the forest. Yeah, okay. That was the difference between two actually plants from Salvia, actually, family. So you have the Salvia officinalis on the left side, and the Pratensis salvia from the wild and from the meadow on the right side. So it's a typical plant from the Mediterranean area, which grows everywhere in France. It's very interesting because it is said that the one who's having salvia in the garden will never get sick or have anything. It has a lot of properties. It's a very interesting plant, actually. It's a good amapachan, for example. And we are burning it in our homes as well, so to cleanse the environment. Next one. This is a commentary from the forest. I think everyone knows the oaks, Quercus robur from the Fragaceae family. It's a deciduous tree, so it's very common here from the forest. It's very important because in that area of France, actually, the Celtic culture was there before the Roman Empire even. And this tree was a symbol of wisdom. So the trees were revered, and they were doing a lot of ceremonies around those trees. So the bark was used at that time, and it's not that much in use nowadays unless you go and you collect it yourself, I would say. Yeah, and you can find the acorn as well. So the acorn can be eaten. It's a very brujan, actually, fruit. But for that, you have to boil it and open it. And this is the typical leaf of the, actually, cassis. And the last plant I wanted to show is the common plant from the coastal area, from that very protected area I talked at the beginning. It's a sea buckthorn. So this one is a very a little shrub, I would say, and the leaves are very small and grayish. And the fruit is interesting. It's very, very interesting because it's very amla and very jivanya, I would say. There is no other word. We use it for that. So you can use it as a juice. And you can make jams out of it. This is what we are doing here. Or you can mix it with apples one more time. So it's a pushtagna, it's a vrana rupan, it's good for tuak bikar, and it's a very good rasayan. Next one, you can see the fruits. Yeah, this is the fruits actually. This is how it looks like. It's very difficult to collect. And next one. Yeah, this is the variety of orchids you can find in the meadows here very commonly everywhere you go. And a huge thank you from the whole biodiversity from that area, which is protected mainly. Thank you.